A former prostitute commanded the largest pirate fleet in human history, 80,000 pirates, 1,800 vessels, and forced the Chinese Empire, the Portuguese Navy, and the British East India Company to their knees. They said a woman couldn't even board a ship. She made them all surrender. This is how she did it. The year is 1810. The South China Sea. Every merchant ship, every fishing vessel, every naval patrol knows the Red Flag Fleet. When they see those crimson sails on the horizon, they have three choices: pay tribute, join the fleet, or die. And the person they're paying? The person who built this empire from absolutely nothing? She's a woman. In 1810, in China, where women weren't allowed to inherit property, own businesses, or even testify in court. Her name is Ching Shih, and by the time her story ends, she'll have defeated every single person who said she couldn't do this. The Chinese emperor, his entire navy, European superpowers, every man who ever looked down on her. She didn't just survive their world, she conquered it. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Because to understand how sweet her victory was, you need to understand just how impossible this should have been. Let's talk about where Ching Shih started. Not as a pirate queen. Not as a commander. Not even as a person with rights. She was born Xianggu around 1775 in Canton, modern-day Guangzhou. And here's what we know for certain. By her early 20s, she was working on a floating brothel called a flower boat. Think about what that means in Qing Dynasty China. This is a society where women are property. Literally. A father owns his daughter until he sells her to a husband. A widow. She belongs to her dead husband's family. Forever. Women can't own land. Can't run businesses. Can't testify in legal proceedings. Can't divorce. Can't even leave the house without permission. Upper-class women have their feet broken and bound as children, crippled on purpose, to make them more desirable and ensure they can't run away. And Ching Shih? She's not even upper class. She's a sex worker. The absolute bottom of an already oppressive hierarchy. A woman whose body is rented by men who see her as less than human. The men who use the flower boats. They're merchants, sailors, pirates, traders. They talk. And she listens. She learns about shipping routes, about the weakness of the Qing Navy, about the politics of the criminal underworld. But here's what you need to understand. She's not supposed to be listening. She's not supposed to be thinking. She's supposed to be decoration. A commodity. Disposable. This is the disrespect. This is the injustice. An intelligent, strategic mind trapped in a body that society says has no value beyond sex. No rights. No future. No escape. Then something unexpected happens. In 1801, a pirate captain named Zheng Yi walks onto her flower boat. And he doesn't just want to rent her for the night. He wants to marry her. Now, this sounds romantic, right? Pirate falls for the prostitute, sweeps her away. No. This is a business transaction. Zheng Yi is consolidating power. He's building alliances between the pirate fleets of the South China Sea. And marriage, even to a former sex worker, is a political tool. But here's where Ching Shih makes her first strategic move. She negotiates. A prostitute. Negotiating. With a pirate captain. She agrees to marry him on one condition. She gets equal share of his plunder and equal say in the business. 50-50. Partnership. The audacity. The absolute audacity of demanding equality in a world designed to crush her. And shockingly, he agrees. So in 1801, Ching Shih goes from flower boat to pirate ship. From owned property to co-commander. But think about what she's walking into. The Pirate Confederacy is a boys' club of the most violent men in China. Thieves, murderers, rapists, men who've spent their entire lives being told they're superior to women. These are not progressive thinkers. These are criminals who see women as loot. And now one of them is supposed to be their leader. The odds are impossible. She has no formal education. No military training. No family connections. No wealth. No army of her own. She's starting with nothing except her intelligence and her deal with Zheng Yi. A Oh, and did I mention? The Qing dynasty, one of the most powerful empires on earth, has been trying to eliminate these pirates for decades. They have the Imperial Navy, unlimited resources, the mandate of heaven itself. But here's where it gets interesting. Because Ching Shih isn't just trying to survive. She's watching, learning, planning. For 6 years, Ching Shih works alongside her husband. And this is crucial. She's not just his wife. She's his partner. She's in the strategy meetings. She's negotiating with other captains. She's learning how this empire works. Zheng Yi is building something unprecedented, a pirate confederation. He's uniting the scattered fleets of the South China Sea under colored flag systems. The red flag fleet, the black flag fleet, the white flag fleet, the blue flag fleet, the yellow flag fleet, the green flag fleet. It's brilliant. Instead of pirates fighting each other, they're working together, pooling resources, coordinating attacks, sharing intelligence. And Ching Shih is learning everything. The politics, the alliances, the weak points in the Qing defenses. Which captains are loyal? Which ones are ambitious? Which ones are idiots? She's studying the only school that could teach her how to run an empire, the empire itself. Then, in 1807, Zheng Yi dies. Suddenly. Some say it's a storm. Some say it's an accident. Some say it's murder. Doesn't matter. What matters is this: the most powerful pirate confederation in Chinese history has just lost its leader. And here's where every single rule of Chinese society says Ching Shih's story ends. She's a widow now. She should return to her husband's family in shame. She should retire. She should disappear. The pirate captains, they're already circling, dividing up Zheng Yi's fleet among themselves, making alliances, preparing for war. A woman leading them? Laughable. Think about this. She's been preparing for 6 years, learning, building relationships, understanding the system. And now everyone assumes she's done. They have no idea what's coming. Because Ching Shih doesn't retire. She doesn't disappear. She doesn't ask permission. She takes command. Not through inheritance. Women can't inherit. Not through appointment. No one would appoint her. Through sheer force of strategic brilliance and political maneuvering. Her first move. Absolutely genius. She goes to Zheng Yi's second-in-command, a man named Zhong Bao. He's young, ambitious, loyal to her late husband. And she makes him an offer: become her right hand. Public face of military operations. Share command of the fleet. Oh, and also, she takes him as her lover. Later, possibly her husband. It's scandalous. It's strategic. It's perfect. Zhong Bao gives her legitimacy with the captains who won't take orders from a woman. He's the enforcer, the military commander, the public face. But make no mistake, Ching Shih is the one making decisions. She's playing the system, using the sexism against itself. Let them think Zhong Bao is in charge. She'll be pulling the strings. But some captains resist. Of course they do. A woman leading the confederation? Never. Here's what you need to understand about Ching Shih's response. She doesn't argue. She doesn't plead. She doesn't try to prove herself worthy. She destroys them. The captains who refuse to acknowledge her authority, they meet with unfortunate accidents. Their ships burn. Their crews desert. Their allies abandon them. Ching Shih is demonstrating a fundamental truth: you don't need people to respect you if they fear you. And it works. Within months, she's consolidated control. The Red Flag Fleet, the largest and most powerful, is hers. Completely. But she doesn't stop there. Because Ching Shih understands something the previous pirate leaders didn't. You can't run a criminal empire like a gang. You need structure, rules, systems. So she creates a code. A pirate code. And it's not just guidelines, it's law. Enforced with brutal efficiency. The rules are specific. If you desert, you get your ears cut off. Desert again. Death. If you steal from the common plunder before it's distributed, death. If you rape a captive, death. If you go ashore without permission, caning. If you hide loot, death. But here's what's brilliant, she also creates incentives. Rewards for loyalty, a share system for plunder, healthcare for injured pirates, compensation for families of the dead, bonuses for recruitment. She's not just running a pirate fleet, she's running a business. With HR policies, with rules of engagement, with a social safety net. The Red Flag Fleet becomes the most organized criminal enterprise in Chinese history. 1,800 ships, between 60 and 80,000 pirates. That's larger than most national navies. And they're not just raiding fishing villages anymore. Qing Shih is thinking bigger. She establishes a protection racket. Villages and merchant ships can buy safe passage certificates, pay the fee, get a receipt, sail safely through red flag waters. It's taxation. It's governance. It's empire building. She sets up supply chains, warehouses for stolen goods, fences for selling loot, black market trade networks. She's negotiating with corrupt officials to buy weapons, ammunition, even government vessels. The Qing dynasty built a system to oppress her. She's using that same system's corruption to fuel her empire. By 1809, Qing Shih's Red Flag Fleet controls the South China Sea. From Macau to Canton, the Pearl River Delta, the most economically important waterways in China. Ships can't move without her permission. Trade is strangled. The Qing economy is hemorrhaging money. But here's where the story gets dark. Because the Qing Empire is finally waking up to the threat. And they're not happy. The emperor issues orders, eliminate the pirates. Not negotiate. Not contain. Eliminate. The Imperial Navy mobilizes. Hundreds of ships. Thousands of sailors. Government resources that dwarf even Qing Shih's massive fleet. And she's about to face something she's never faced before, a coordinated, all-out assault from the world's most powerful empire. 1809, the Qing Navy launches its first major offensive against the Red Flag Fleet. They send their best commanders, their newest ships, thousands of sailors. This is supposed to be the end of the pirate problem. They get absolutely destroyed. Qing Shih doesn't fight them head-on. That would be stupid. She uses guerrilla tactics. Hit and run. Ambushes. She knows these waters better than any imperial captain who learned warfare from a textbook. Her fleet splits into small squadrons. They attack supply lines. They lure government ships into narrow channels and blast them with cannons from both sides. They capture Qing vessels and add them to their own fleet. The Imperial Navy loses dozens of ships, hundreds of men, and they have nothing to show for it. The Qing court is humiliated. The emperor is furious. How is a woman defeating the Imperial Navy? So they try something else. They offer amnesty. Join the government side, receive pardons, keep some of your wealth. They're trying to break her coalition from within. Some smaller pirate fleets take the deal. The Black Flag Fleet, parts of the Blue Flag Fleet. They abandon the Confederation. And this is where Qing Shih shows her political genius. She doesn't fight them. She doesn't try to force them to stay. She lets them go. Why? Because they were the weak links anyway. The opportunists. The ones who'd betray her eventually. She's just had a free purge of unreliable allies. Her core fleet, the Red Flag Fleet, stays loyal. And now they're leaner, meaner, and more unified than ever. The Qing tries again. This time they hire the Portuguese. The Portuguese Navy from Macau has better ships, better cannons, better training than the Chinese Imperial Fleet. September 1809. The Portuguese Navy engages the Red Flag Fleet in a major battle. And Qing Shih sinks them. She captures multiple Portuguese vessels, kills their commanders, sends the survivors running back to Macau with their tails between their legs. A former prostitute just defeated a European naval power. Think about what this means. This is the age of colonialism. Europeans have been conquering the world with superior naval technology. The Portuguese have been dominating Asian waters for 3 centuries. And Qing Shih just proved they're not invincible. The British East India Company is paying attention now. They're nervous. If the Portuguese can't stop her, what's to prevent her from disrupting their trade routes? But here's the thing, Qing Shih isn't trying to conquer China. She's not trying to overthrow the Qing dynasty. She's not trying to colonize territory. She's trying to get paid. She's trying to run her business. And everyone, the Chinese, the Portuguese, the British, keeps attacking her instead of just letting her do pirate capitalism in peace. So she keeps winning. And her reputation grows. The Red Flag Fleet becomes legendary, unstoppable, mythical. Sailors tell stories about the pirate queen who can't be defeated. Merchants pray she accepts their tribute payments. Villages fortify their harbors. By 1810, Qing Shih is arguably the most powerful person in southern China. More powerful than provincial governors. More powerful than imperial admirals. She controls commerce. She controls the sea. But the Qing Empire has unlimited resources. And they're getting desperate. 1810, the Qing dynasty changes tactics. If they can't beat Qing Shih militarily, they'll strangle her economically. They shut down ports. They ban fishing in coastal waters. They relocate entire villages inland. They're implementing a scorched earth policy. If the pirates can't get supplies, they can't survive. And it's working. Qing Shih's fleet needs food, water, ammunition, medicine, repairs. They're running out of places to resupply. Villages that used to trade with them are empty. Markets are closed. Her supply lines are collapsing. Her fleet is getting hungry, desperate. Morale is dropping. Worse, the Qing offers a new amnesty program. More generous terms. Land grants. Money. Official positions in the government. They're trying to buy off her captains. And some of them are listening. Captain defections start trickling in. Then accelerating. Entire squadrons are abandoning the Red Flag Fleet for government pardons. Zhong Bao, her right hand, is urging her to negotiate. The situation is becoming unsustainable. They can't fight forever. For the first time, Qing Shih is facing a crisis she can't shoot her way out of. The noose is tightening. Her empire is cracking. This is the moment. The crisis point. Where everything could collapse. Where the Qing dynasty could finally defeat her. And here's where Qing Shih does something unexpected. Something brilliant. Something that proves why she's a strategic genius and not just a lucky warlord. She surrenders. Wait, what? But not like you think. Because Qing Shih doesn't lose negotiations. She wins them. January 1810. Qing Shih sends a message to the provincial governor. She wants to negotiate surrender terms. The Qing court is ecstatic. Finally, the pirate queen is giving up. Victory at last. But when the negotiations start, Qing Shih shows up with a list of demands. Not requests. Demands. First, full pardons for her entire fleet. Every single pirate. No exceptions. No prosecutions. Clean slate. Second, her pirates get to keep their loot. All of it. Every coin they've stolen over a decade of piracy. Third, Zhong Bao gets an official position in the Imperial Navy. Not as a prisoner. As a commissioned officer. Fourth, she personally gets to keep a fleet of ships and her wealth. The Qing negotiators are stunned. This is a surrender. This sounds like she's dictating terms to them. And that's exactly what she's doing. Because here's what Qing Shih understands. She has leverage. The Qing dynasty needs her to surrender. They've been humiliated for years. They need the pirate problem to end. They need to save face. If she fights to the death, it makes them look weak. If thousands of her pirates scatter into smaller groups, the problem gets worse, not better. But if she surrenders peacefully, they get to declare victory. So she's making them pay for that victory. The negotiations drag on for months. Back and forth. The Qing officials keep trying to reduce her demands. She refuses to budge. At one point, Governor General Bai Ling meets her in person. She shows up in full regalia, silk robes, jewelry, surrounded by loyal captains. She doesn't bow, doesn't show submission. She negotiates like a head of state. Bai Ling is so impressed, or intimidated, that he writes to the emperor recommending they accept her terms. And in April 1810, they do. The Chinese Empire, the Qing Dynasty, one of the most powerful governments on earth, officially surrenders to Ching Shih's demands. Full pardons for 17,318 pirates. They get to keep their wealth. Zhong Bao becomes Lieutenant Bingguan in the Imperial Navy. He gets command of government vessels. And Ching Shih, she retires. But not in shame. Not in defeat. Not as a criminal seeking mercy. She retires as a victor. With her wealth intact. Her life intact. Her people safe. Let's be absolutely clear about what just happened. A woman who started as a prostitute, literally owned property in a society that gave her no rights, just forced the Chinese Empire to negotiate on her terms. The Imperial Navy that tried to destroy her, failed. The Portuguese Navy, failed. The economic blockade, failed. Every military commander, every governor, every imperial official who said a woman couldn't do this, she made them all surrender. Not just surrender. She made them reward her. While her former pirate colleagues who took earlier amnesty deals got small pardons and scraps, Ching Shih negotiated herself into retirement as one of the wealthiest women in China. She didn't just survive the system designed to crush her. She didn't just escape it. She beat it. She turned their own rules against them. She made them acknowledge her power. And then, this is the ultimate power move, she walked away on her own terms. Think about what this means to every man who ever bought her on that flower boat. Every official who said women had no value. Every captain who said she couldn't lead. Every navy that tried to kill her. She outlived them. Outsmarted them. Outnegotiated them. And retired rich. That's not just survival. That's revenge. So what happened after Ching Shih retired? She opened a gambling house in Canton. Lived comfortably. Wealthy. Respected in her community. Yes, respected. The former prostitute turned pirate queen became a legitimate businesswoman. She had a son. Maybe with Zhong Bao, maybe from a previous relationship, records are unclear. She lived to see him grow up. And she died peacefully in 1844, around age 69. In her own bed. Surrounded by family. Having lived one of the most extraordinary lives in human history. But here's where the revenge story continues. Because history tried to erase her. For over a century, Ching Shih's story was buried. Minimized. Dismissed. Western historians barely mentioned her. Chinese historians were embarrassed by her. She made the empire look weak. When she was included in history books at all, she was a footnote. A curiosity. Oh yes, there was a female pirate once. Novelty. Exception. Fluke. They tried to attribute her success to the men around her. She was really just following Zhong Bao's orders. Her husband built the fleet, she just inherited it. Lies. They tried to make her a villain. A cruel tyrant. A prostitute who seduced her way to power through sexual manipulation. More lies. They tried to claim she was lucky. That the Qing Navy was just weak. That she won because of special circumstances. Bullshit. Here's the truth they tried to bury. Ching Shih commanded the largest pirate fleet in human history. Not just Chinese history. Not just female pirate history. Human history. Blackbeard. He had 4 ships. 4. Ching Shih had 1,800. The famous Caribbean pirates combined? Maybe a few thousand men total. Ching Shih commanded up to 80,000. She defeated multiple governments. Multiple navies. Multiple military campaigns designed specifically to eliminate her. She built a sophisticated criminal empire with codes, structure, and governance. She negotiated the most favorable surrender terms ever recorded for a pirate leader. And she retired wealthy and died of old age, which basically never happened to pirates. Her story proves something terrifying to patriarchal systems, that intelligence and strategic brilliance have nothing to do with gender. That a woman with no advantages, no education, no family, no wealth, no rights, can still become more powerful than emperors if she's smart enough, ruthless enough, and strategic enough. That's why they buried her story. Because she's proof that the system is a lie. But we're digging it up now. We're telling her story. We're making sure everyone knows what she did. They tried to erase Ching Shih. They failed. From flower boat to pirate fleet. From property to power. From prostitute to empress of the South China Sea. Ching Shih took everything society said she couldn't have and made it hers through sheer force of will and brilliance. They tried to erase her. They failed. Next week, we're covering another woman they tried to bury, Harriet Tubman, the escaped slave who became a literal military commander, led armed raids into Confederate territory, and freed hundreds while slaveholders put bounties on her head. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And let me know in the comments, what other historical women's revenge stories do you want to hear? Who else did history try to silence? Because we're bringing them all back.